Hey Warriors of Light! Today I am back to my How It Changed from 1.0 series, and we are going to Western Noscea. Most of the inland landmarks are actually preserved or transformed with better details. But the biggest change is in the deletion of an open world dungeon known as Mistbeard Cove, and the creation of the Serpent Reavers hideout known as the Serpent's Tongue. I will be telling the stories of how these two places are linked to Merlwyb, her father, her twin muskets, the Annihilator and the Death Penalty, and the Pirate King Mistbeard. There is a lot of Limsa pirate Merlwyb lore inscribed into these places. Before I start, I also want to say I've started streaming my Dawn Trail MSQ playthroughs, mainly because it's an MMO and it just felt so lonely with nobody around on my server. It's mainly a chill, wind-down kind of stream to breathtaking Turel scenery, in-game weather conditions permitting of course. Chat has been really nice at keeping me company, so if you're free, do pop by, say hi, and get me updated on the game. So let's start with Mistbeard Cove. Mistbeard Cove was an open-world dungeon in 1.0, which was located at the far west end of Western Noscea. And the story is that after the Seventh Umbral Calamity, where Bahamut's flames scorched the inlands, Leviathan unleashed a tidal wave so big that it leveled and washed away all the soil of Hearthstone, destroying Camp Bolt Knoll, and thus the Lominsian hold over the furthest reaches of Western Noscea. With this, the Sahagin saw fit to turn this region into their spawning grounds. Mistbeard Cove, however, is not entirely gone, by the way, and you can see a remnant of it in one of the ARR dungeons, which I will review later, but this should already be a familiar sight to most of you. Now, who is the Pirate King Mistbeard, you may ask? Long before Merlwyb outlawed piracy, and of concern to the story today, are the two most dangerous pirate factions known to exist, Mistbeard's crew and the League of the Lost Bastards. These two factions went against each other so hard that the area called Blood Shore in eastern Noscea is named after one of their battles that dyed the waters red in its aftermath. The League of the Lost Bastards was led by Merlwyb's father, Bylfiswin, and subsequently leadership was passed down to her. Now, of course, where there are pirates, there is treasure, and Mistbeard Cove was just one of the places in which Mistbeard's treasure was rumored to be. Now today, we know the true, or rather, the last identity of Mistbeard. In Hullbreaker All, the legendary ship of Mistbeard that has sunk countless vessels, the Har, surfaced there. And of course, this caught the attention of many treasure-hungry, no longer pirates to plunder the island. The Warrior of Light helps to retrieve Mistbeard's treasure from the Isle and passes it back to Ainzaru Surafin Rushin. And I'm reading the Japanese pronunciation of it because I have no idea how to read it in English. Anyway, Ainzaru was Merlwyb's right-hand man, who reveals that Mistbeard is but a name and title. And in similar fashion, the treasure that we retrieved, Mistbeard's mask, was a mask donned on by many different pirates throughout Mistbeard's legacy, of which he was the last. But why? Although the Calamity erased Camp Bolt Knoll and Mistbeard Cove, in 2.0 it spawned a new region called the Serpent's Tongue, and it was the hideout of the Serpent Reavers. Now, if you have ever done a fade or flew around in this area, you will notice that the Serpent Reavers look very much like regular pirates, and that's because they actually are former members of the League of the Lost Bastards, who are tempered by Leviathan. Now, if you recall, I said Merlwyb was the leader of the League of the Lost Bastards, but she certainly ain't tempered. So how did this come to be? And how does all this link to everything I have teased about her father, her guns, and Mistbeard? Brace yourself, for I am about to tell one of the saddest stories I've read from the Lodestone Side Stories. It is the year 1562, 10 years before the events of 1.0. Merlwyb was already captain of the League of the Lost Bastards, and had even found a safe passage to the New World and back. Sahagin threat, however, was still predominant in La Noscea, and trade vessels frequently suffered regular raids from the beastmen. Merlwyb's father, despite being a retired captain, decided to do something about it and announced a campaign to eliminate the Sahagin threat. Still being a pirate of respected standing, many answered the call, Merlwyb and her vessel, Lively included. The Lively received a distress call from a trade vessel one day, and with the experiences she already had under her belt and her trusty first mate Lorenz, she chose not to alert her father for reinforcements, but rushed to the vessel's aid on her own. True enough, the Sahagin were no threat against Merlwyb, Lorenz, and their crew. Or so they thought. Unfortunately, a Sahagin straggler, barely breathing after Lorenz's musket had torn through his gut, marshaled just enough strength and spirit for a fervent prayer. Combined with the amount of crystals the trade vessel was carrying, Leviathan took form. The colossal Leviathan snapped Merlwyb's ship like a twig, and Merlwyb knew that the battle was lost. While she and her crew lay resigned to their fate, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. Her father's flotilla had arrived. Battling Leviathan in its home domain was no easy feat, but Beothas and his fleet managed to drive Leviathan back, even if the respite was only temporary. Right there and then, Merlwyb thought in her heart, "The title you may hold, but he is still the true captain. You have much to learn." Less than a week after this incident, and without saying any farewell, Beothas sailed off into the horizon with a patchwork crew. There was no danger of mutiny against Merlwyb within the Lost Bastards, but a sense of unease permeated the ranks at the mysterious departure of their former captain. In the subsequent months, Sahagin attacks on trade vessels became more frequent and more intense. More troubling was the rumors that the beastmen were not alone, but with Lominsian vessels at their side. These pirates called themselves the Serpent Reavers, and were apparently led by the legendary Beothas himself. Other pirate factions were quick to turn against the Lost Bastards due to the blasphemous alliance. Merlwyb, however, was not one to sit and mope around about these rumors. Under the cover of a moonless night, her ship departed from the docks unseen, with a hand-picked crew of her most trusted sailors. She was cautious about this mission, yet there was someone unwelcome on board. Merlwyb turned to face the iron mask that was Mistbeard, formerly her father's and now her greatest rival. "Come to deliver justice to the turncoat's daughter, I'll wager." "You mean to bring him back, do you?" "No, I mean to kill him." Both Merlwyb and Mistbeard knew that Beothas was beyond saving, and with intentions aligned and clear, Mistbeard offered his twin muskets, the Annihilator and the death penalty, to Merlwyb. She'll be a fool to refuse them, but she couldn't help but wonder why he would offer them. "The sun has all but set on the age of us old buccaneers. Beothas knew this as well as I. That's why you lead the bastards now. If you have a mind to do your duty, then let me help you see it done." Just before the rays of dawn would break on the horizon, Merlwyb's ship came ashore onto the Serpent Reavers' hideout. True to the rumors, not only did the Sahagins come out to greet them, but their pirate allies as well. With twin muskets firmly in hand and a heart of steel, she shot and killed one after another. Amongst them were her former companions and childhood friends, though their wild-eyed expressions rendered them nearly unrecognizable. Although they fought skillfully, her small crew were clearly outnumbered. So this is how it ends, Merlwyb thought. Just as she was about to lose hope, a shot from a familiar gun rang out. Merlwyb had gone to great lengths to conceal her departure from her first mate Lorenz, only to be saved by his gun. With Lorenz as backup and the twin muskets from Mistbeard, Merlwyb made short work of the remaining foes. Both marched on ahead, ever closer to the cabin in the center of the island. It was deep within this cave that they finally found Beowulf, or what remained of him, after months of primal tempering. The once imposing figure had wasted away. His pale skin clung to his emaciated frame, and his flowing locks and beard were flecked with white and grey. Had it been years later when primal tempering was better understood, Beowulf would have been regarded with pity rather than scorn. But on that cold morning in this dark cave, Merlwyb knew that the people would condemn her father as a traitor. "My daughter, Lorenz, have ye come to join us? It is impossible for mere mortals to stand against the power of a god. Swear allegiance to Lord Leviathan, and we may live free beneath the waves." Impossible is a word coined by the weak. You taught me that, and you know bloody well that freedom isn't gifted by a god, but claimed by our own hand. My poor, wayward daughter, I thought I raised ye better than this. Merlwyb already knew she did not come here to reason with her father, but to hand down his sentence. For treason was a crime punishable by death. I hereby challenge you to a duel to the death. Should even a shred of pirate's honor remain in you, you will accept. Beowulf rose to his feet. Lorenz would serve as the sole witness of this duel. Being an orphan, Lorenz had known no family but the bastards, no father but Beowulf. Father and daughter came together, and then, exchanging no words, turned their backs on one another. Their footsteps echoed as they walked further and further apart. As Merlwyb walked, she recalled the day she lost her father, doomed him to his fate with her arrogance and recklessness. She wanted it to be her bullet, her sole burden to bear. And she was sorry to make Lorenz a part of this. For if I am my father's daughter, then in all but blood, he is my father's son. With a gold coin in his clenched fist, Lorenz opened it slowly. The sound of the clink of a coin striking the ground resonated throughout the cave. Father and daughter spun around to say farewell. Merlwyb's bullet flew straight and buried itself into her father's left breast. Musket still dangling from his hand, Beowulf fell to his knees. Merlwyb, Lorenz, I'm sorry I had to put ye through this. Promise me, ye do me proud. The smile in his last moments was that of the father Merlwyb knew and loved. So with that, did I mention that you can see a remnant of Mistbeard Cove in 2.0? It is right here behind this locked door of both Sestasha Normal and Hard. You can't go through this door, unfortunately, but you can see Mistbeard Cove labeled behind it on the dungeon map. The next time you make your way through Sestasha, Hullbreaker All, or even drop by the Serpent Reavers hideout, I hope you have a much more enriched experience behind the lore tied to these places. Now that was a lot to take in, but I do want to end the video on a lighter note, perhaps with the smaller changes to the region. Isles of Umbra was previously linked to the mainland, but was separated in 2.0, and now comes with Pharos. Pharos is where the Siren storyline from the 1.0 Blacksmith and Armorer job quest continued, as I covered previously. Link above. Swift Perch was a mere yellow jacket watchtower in 1.0, but today there's a settlement trying to develop around it, although it appears that the colonizing dodos are winning as most farmers have fled back to Limsa after the calamity. Camp Skull Valley was further north in 1.0, and its name came from the cobalt skulls that lined the valley as a warning to the beastmen coming down from Mount Ogomoro. World Whisper Canyon was shifted to Middle La Noscea, and hey, Middle La Noscea didn't exist as its own map in 1.0. Speaking of that, Middle La Noscea is supposed to be the region bordering Galadian Bay, but the trigger text for Galadian Bay in 2.0 is actually found in multiple spots along the oceans of western La Noscea. Galadian Bay is named after the ship in which Lominsian's first settlers came to La Noscea on, carrying certain someones called Guy Le Thangron and Jean de Neville too. All that covered in my Middle La Noscea video. Aleport actually became more of a port with actual ships docking and various alcohol being traded due to its low tax rate. In 1.0, however, Aleport was the location of the La Noscean Hamlet Defense event, which had a Chocobo escort event preceding it, and I've somewhat covered that previously in the link above. All in all, when I see Western La Noscea, I see the story of Merlwyb, her father Beofis, her first mate Lorenz, whom she considers as her brother, and the last Mistbeard, who is her right-hand man right now. Okay, fine, I'll try to pronounce his name in English. Einzar Slafrishin. By the way, the sad Beofis story told today is also the reason why Lorenz went on to found and lead the Company of Heroes, which seemed to be a group that was supposed to hold more significance as the 1.0 story developed, which of course didn't happen. While researching this video, I was delighted to find that the devs gave the Company of Heroes a sort of conclusion arc in the Endwalker melee role quest, and the climax fight itself feels almost like an epic trial alongside 6 other players. If you really enjoyed the retelling of Merlwyb's backstory, definitely do check out the actual Lodestone side story because it was so well written. At least the English one brought me to tears every time. I've linked them in the respective languages you browse YouTube on down below. As usual, I'm really grateful for any support I can get. Do consider becoming my member on YouTube or Patreon, or simply subscribing, sharing the video, and following my socials. See you on my next livestream. Till next time we meet, may you ever walk in the beauty of Hydaelyn.